Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Recently, I made a video about risks that a Filipina undertakes when she comes to the West. And one of those had to do with a controlling husband. And I just had the thought that I should have mentioned something about money matters, because it's not only something that's going to be brand new to her in a new country because the currency is different, but it's possible her husband won't let her handle the money. So we're going to be talking about that issue today of money and handling it. So please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I make videos. I think I've got about 1,500 of them now. I need more subscribers to learn about being married to one. Yes, I can talk about, how you meet them and the scams and all that stuff. And I'm sure I have many times. I've got some playlists to possibly help you locate some videos, although I've got a lot of videos, so it still might be a little bit of a challenge. But one of the things you want to do that would affect her negatively if you didn't is allow your Filipino wife to learn about handling money. I would suggest that eventually, although not right away, you would show her about a budget. If you have a budget, if you have something like in a spreadsheet like I had for about the last 17 years, something that would help her to understand where all the money is going, how much is coming in, from paychecks. Of course, that'll be different if you're working a lot of overtime. Then, one month will be more money than another. And then she'll see all the expenses. Some of them are the same, unless they go up, like your house payment. Your utilities kind of fluctuate a little bit, and then your food and things that come up depends on what you put in there and how you categorize it. But that gives her some idea of where the money is going. Now, initially, she won't, she probably won't know what, a nickel, a dime, a penny, a quarter, what, those things look like. Like when I'm in the Philippines and I get those coins and those bills, I look at it and it's like, okay, yeah, I know what it says, but I don't know what it means, and I don't know what kind of purchasing power it has. And so she's going to have to learn all about that stuff. Help her to learn about money. Don't just make all the purchases. Let your Filipino wife make some purchases. My wife learned by I had these old protein containers, and she'd put, pennies in that one and nickels in that one and dimes and dollar bills or silver dollars or quarters, and then she'd kind of get used to what they were, worth that way. And so that was a brilliant idea for her. But unless she's going to the store and seeing this for herself and buying things, it's kind of not as important. So I would say, like you would with anybody else in your own country, let her buy things. Having a credit card is certainly critical because she needs to establish credit. So I know that scares some people, giving your Filipina a credit card. Well, if you don't trust her with a credit card, then you don't want her to develop, or you've married the wrong person. So get her a credit card. I always suggest let her work so she's not bored to death, especially if you don't or haven't or aren't going to give her a baby. She needs to have things to do. She wants to have her own independence. There's a word that scares some people. It shouldn't. She needs money. Like, you don't want to rely on other people for what you have and what you're bringing in. Neither does she. So let her work. Help her find a job. Help her understand, what the currency is worth. Maybe, like if you're banking online, which a lot of people do nowadays, show her how that works. I always show my wife, here's our accounts, and I've got one in her name and what the other ones are for, and how to transfer money back and forth, and how we're going to handle the monthly expenses. And one thing she taught me, which I'd never done, was to charge everything, and then once a month you'd get that statement from Visa, and you just pay it. That's usually $2,000 to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month, depending on if there's a vacation on there, plane tickets, doctor's bills, quick trip somewhere for a short vacation. Or if you buy something, then it will be more. And so that kind of makes it easy. Just use the card all the time, and I don't need to keep much in my wallet. I always would just take out money all the time. Now I like it her way better. So we just charge it, and we get the bill, and then I send her the money, and then she pays it automatically from the account that she has set up. So I can see all the expenses, transactions. She can see all the transactions. So it's important to trust her with finances. So she's got credit if she has a card. If she's paying something back, like for a car, an automobile, then she's going to have that. My wife pays for the phones on her card. She has I don't want to say the name of the phone company, but she's got an account with them, and so she takes care of that. She learns that certain times of the month expenses are due, and she knows what it's all, how much it is, and how much percent basically of our budget that is worth. So she knows how expensive a cable bill is and a water bill compared to electric bill, compared to a garbage bill, and the house mortgage payment. She pays our mortgage payment. We pretty much split everything down the middle now. We didn't early on. We had other objectives, but now we're pretty much splitting those costs. And if something happens to me, and I have a wife that doesn't know how to drive, and doesn't have credit, and doesn't know how to write checks, doesn't know how to balance her account or update her accounts when transactions, and see when things are due to make sure she has enough money in there, then I have failed her failed to teach her responsibility. So that's something that could come under control. It does her no good to not have to be able to make her own money, make her own expenses. My wife goes to school, and she pays for those payments, books and tuition, and she gets that reimbursed, fortunately, from her employer. But she's got to know, she's got to keep track of things when payments are made, make sure there's enough money in there, of course. And she can see how much she's making at work when she checks the online banking. So I can't imagine anybody not doing this. Please leave comments if you have any heartburn over this issue of your wife working and learning how to manage money, writing checks, online banking, you name it. It's something that she needs to do. And did I mention credit card? I'm not sure I did. I think maybe I did, but she should have a credit card, not so she can go hog wild, but when she goes to the store, she doesn't have to keep taking out money. She just uses the card, and we look at those things, and if anything looks out of place, or I don't know what it is, and we can talk about it. And that teaches her responsibility. I know people fear that she'll go crazy and ring up all kind of debt, and I've been very clear with her. If we can't pay something back on a credit card, then those cards get cut up, and then we're irresponsible, and we have to prove somehow later that we can be more responsible, because you don't want to pay interest on credit cards. And for her to know that, she needs to see what that interest is and how that works. So it's been all good for us, and I want it to be good for you too. If you're thinking about bringing her to your country, there is no good reason to keep her in the dark with finances. In fact, if you have a financial advisor like we do, I had this person for years before I met my wife. They're outstanding. I bring my wife over there as often as I can, and she gets to hear us talk, and she can look at the computer, and she can see the investments that she's making at work. There's another thing, she knows she's investing with her 401k, and we can get printouts and projections, and that's all good. And your wife will appreciate you letting her in on the financial side of things. It just makes her more valuable and independent, and that's all good for your love beyond the sea.